Welcome to episode 3 of Down the I-10 with Leah and Petey. I'm Leah Merrill here with Steve Peters. On Down the I-10, we focus on the Arizona Coyotes AHL affiliate, the Tucson Roadrunners, where a few times each month we talk to a Roadrunners coach or player to get to know what's going on down in Tucson, because I think it's really important to follow the Coyotes AHL team, especially as we're going through this rebuild reminder, as always. So right now, the Roadrunners are sitting 4th place in the Pacific Division. The record's 10-9-2. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. So
yeah, since we started going down the I-10,
yeah,
just saying, coincidence? Who knows?
They've been performing pretty well,
climbing those AHL Pacific Division standings.
Yeah, they've made moves since we started this series. So, they had games that were supposed to be played this week that got canceled due to cross-border travel issues with Abbotsford. But coming up after the Christmas break, they're going to be home against San Diego, who's last in the Pacific, but doesn't mean it doesn't present a challenge. And then right after that, Stockton back-to-back at home. Stockton's first place in the Pacific, 18-2-2. I mean, that's an insane record. So a big set of games coming up here for the Roadrunners.
If they want to make that playoff push, it's going to happen in this block of 9 games over 16 days. That's tough. I mean, that can propel them up in the standings. And tell you what, not a lot of practice time, so they're not going to get a lot of work. It's going to be game. But if you get in a rhythm, that could be a good thing. So it's going to be fun to follow what happens to that team over the next few weeks.
Definitely, it's an exciting team to watch. We are pulling up. We just got off the I-10.
Got our snacks.
Yep, we just got off the I-10.
Literally put it in autopilot.
Which, by the way, the arena is right off the I-10, so super easy to get to. And I think without further ado, we should welcome in Tucson Roadrunners associate coach Steve Potvin. Let's do it.
Well, finally made it to our destination down the I-10 with Leah and Petey. Have a special guest today. We're bringing associate head coach Steve Potvin into the studio. Well, not into the studio, sitting at home because everybody's on break and getting some time off. Steve, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Well, I really appreciate the intro. You said special guest, so I don't know how to take that, really.
Oh, wow. It is so true, though, Steve. And we're going to get into some of your storied past and how the path got you down to the Tucson Roadrunners. But I don't know if you've had a chance to meet Leah Merrill, our co-host on Down the I-10.
Nice to meet you.
I haven't, only through the podcast. Honestly, it's been so fun listening to you guys. So I really appreciate being on, and I really appreciate meeting you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, we want to make sure that we have coverage of the Tucson Roadrunners too. It's a huge part of the Arizona Coyotes organization. Right now, the Roadrunners are sitting 4th in the Pacific Division. The record 10-9-2. What's your evaluation of the Roadrunner season so far?
You know what? We went in not really knowing what to expect. So where we sit right now, we weren't really expecting it. To be honest with you, we've got such a great group of kids in there, and every day these guys show up and they want to play and they want to learn, and they're real coachable. So that puts a lot of pressure on us. If they're really coachable, then they better be doing what you're saying and what you're expecting from them. So far so good. Honestly, couldn't be happier with the group right now.
Steve, we talked about a lot on our show. We talk about a lot of prospects. We know that this team's in development mode and looking to the future. And we talked about Matthias Michelli, JJ Mosier, and some of the names, Ivan Prosvitov that people are familiar with, and seeing a lot of guys in the everyday lineup. The most recent call-ups are guys that we haven't talked about on the show very much. Can you tell us a little bit about Michael Carcone and Blake Spears and what kind of players they are and what they are behind the scenes and what our fans can expect to see from them?
Yeah, Michael Carcone, honestly, he's got NHL speed. When you watch this kid skate, he a lot of times he reminds me of Paul Coffey. He plays a different position, obviously, but he is smooth. He can skate. He'll beat you one-on-one. He's been in the league a long time. He's been waiting for this opportunity. So, we're hoping that he gets in some games and he can really showcase some of his skating. And Blake Spears, I mean, you know what? This is a kid that went through a lot of turbulence last year. He had a real significant injury he had to get over. And you know what? He took every second of the day to try to improve his game. And not only, obviously he couldn't do it on the ice, so he wasn't only in the gym or at the shooting gallery. He would read books. He would try to do everything he could just to gain that inch. We joked about the 1% every day. I swear he had 4% a day for sure.
Wow.
He just grinded. So he's the type of player that's he's good for your locker room. He's going to play some good shutdown minutes. Really good on the PK. Really good on draws. So he's a center that Arizona just right now doesn't really have. So it's good to see if he can get in some more games and see how well he does.
Definitely. Well, right now there are a few players who started on the Roadrunners this season who are up with the Coyotes. Deneen, Mayo, and Mosier are all up right now. How do you in Tucson adjust to losing those players to the Coyotes?
Well, you know what? It's funny. Everybody says how you adjust, but this is something we go into every season fully knowing and fully being aware that a lot of our best players are going to be out of our lineup. So it's just kind of the next man up. Of course, we miss them, but man, we wish the best for them, and we couldn't be any happier for them being up at the big club and actually showcasing what they can do. It's exactly what the league is meant to do, and we're just so happy they're having success up there and being able to stay.
Steve, we talk about what your background is, and we'll get more about your history, but you're a development guy. You're a guy that's a small detail guy. I know you spend a lot of one-on-one time helping guys improve and figure out how their way through pro hockey, because it's an incredible, difficult path. So I know that that's where your focus is, but I want to take you back to 2 years ago. After the bubble, Jay Verde leaves as the head coach, and you were named the head coach of the Tucson Roadrunners, and did an excellent job, by the way. By all accounts, you did a great job. You handled the media well, the players, and did a really solid job as the head coach. Jay comes back, and you have to take a step back. What did that do for your career, and how did you handle that relationship?
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, it's a touchy subject right when it happens. You want to be the head coach. You prepare for a long time to be the head coach, and you get the opportunity. And yeah, of course, we wanted more wins, and we wanted to do certain things. Maybe now we'd look back and do them a little bit differently. But to be honest with you, it was an opportunity for me to kind of practice what I preach to the players. It didn't go well your first opportunity up in the NHL. You got to come back and grind again. You got to get back and find a way to make your experience down in the American Hockey League better. So I took it as the approach. Hey, I was a head coach, and I can now sit back and be an assistant. I'll be able to best serve Jay the best way I can, knowing that I've been in his shoes and knowing what it takes and knowing really what he's thinking on a day-to-day basis. And so I can really serve the team a lot better than I did and could in the past as an assistant. So I honestly, I just, hey, you got to practice what you preach. You can't come down with a long face, and you got to come back and try to do the best you can to learn. And honestly, that's really what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn the best I can from Jay, and what I see he does real well, and where I would tweak things a little bit. But to be real honest with you, that long face only lasted a little while. Over the course of the last 6 years I've been in the organization, my start, I started in minor hockey, and a lot of people that I see always say, oh man, congratulations. It's great that you're in the league. It's, I want to do a lot of what you do or what you did. And, help me, how do I get there? So when you listen to those types of stories and you look back a little bit and you reflect, you put yourself in a better light, and you feel pretty strong about your past, and you feel pretty strong about your future as well. So I honestly just tried to take it as positively as I could and try to find a way to get better.
Steve, you mentioned your development, and you talked about minor hockey here in Arizona. And for people that don't know you, that's really how you got your start in coaching. You were coaching kids at the I-10 and developing their skills at a much younger level. Have you seen any of those kids move on to do things, whether it's, junior hockey or college hockey, guys you worked with years and years ago?
You know what? That's the most fun thing about it. To be honest with you, there's kids in my living room last night. Jack Franklin and Logan Morrell. They're both playing. One's playing in the NAHL, and the other one's playing in the USHL. And finally now they're in a position where the things that we were saying in the past to them, they can actually really, really apply, and they think of it as, man, I wish I had listened to you like back then. I would have been so much ahead, so much further ahead, and truthfully, my son Max, I mean, like, he was one of those guys that's a little bit of a late bloomer. And of course, when you're living with dad, you don't really take everything in. And now he's like, geez, I was so reluctant at the time. And I think it's just like every father-son relationship, right? So, and I've seen, obviously I coach Matthew Nyes, and, we know Josh Doan is moving up. So it's great seeing a big part of Arizona hockey grow, mature, and get that opportunity to play at the next level. It's amazing.
I know we said we were going to get to it later, but just can you tell us about how you went from coaching at the I-10 to being the associate coach of the Tucson Roadrunners?
Really, I don't know. You know what? Like, to be honest with you, after I was done playing hockey, I played my last 11 years of a 16-year career in Europe, and it was always the plan to kind of coach, but I'd always felt that it was my responsibility a little bit to let my kids grow into one place. And as you know, coaching can sometimes take you off the beaten path, and you can be, in one city after another, year after year. So we wanted, my wife and I, Nada, we wanted to have a home base, and we had already purchased a house in Arizona. So we thought we'd come and start our grassroots here in Arizona for our kids. And it wasn't too long before, my son was playing for the junior Coyotes, and I got a call from Mike DeAngelis asking if I was interested in coaching minor hockey. And to be honest with you, I really wanted to be involved. I wasn't sure how involved I wanted to be because of how it is. And it's intense with the parents, and I wanted to really just give my attention to my son. And fortunately and unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I ended up coaching two teams and on the ice probably 18 hours a week. So, it was, but at the end, and then going to all the USA and Hockey Canada, coaches seminars, and I really, really soaked it in and learned, and it was so fun to be part of it. And, honestly, I think every coach should probably take that path of learning what it takes to speak and communicate with the young ones. And then the tripod of communication, being able to speak with the parents, the players, and the team is huge. So from that standpoint, I was so fortunate to be able to do that.
And you looked at your playing career, and we talked about your time in Europe, in the American League, the International League. I want to talk to you about your last stop of your ice hockey career was at the Arizona Sundogs. And so you've played up in that building, and we've talked about a lot on our show. Can that building, I know we're not asking you to commit to anything. I don't want to know where they're playing. That's not what I'm asking. What's the building like, and what's it like playing up there in Prescott?
Yeah, the building is great. There's similar buildings to that building in the American Hockey League currently. So honestly, it's a place that is perfect for AHL hockey. There's no doubt about it. It's a nice facility, and the town is great also. There isn't, there aren't that many people that live there, so we would be the main attraction. But at a certain point, it hit a real pinnacle, and it was really, it was the buzz of the city, playing with Prescott Valley. But at some point, it just kind of like diminished a little bit. So I have a little concern about it. But as far as the town and the city and the rink goes, it's a great American Hockey League city.
I also have heard that you played roller hockey as well. What can you tell us about that?
The Rock and Rollers.
You know what?
The Rock and Rollers. Is that a thing? Roller hockey? That's a thing?
I'm telling you. You know what? I honestly, this is the truth. I am so proud of being selected in the first round. I can't say that in every other league.
Yeah, you're a first rounder in the roller. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was the thing, Steve. I'm sorry. When we were doing our research I didn't know you played roller hockey.
Well, you know what? Honestly, at that time, I just finished junior hockey, and I played one season in East Coast League. And you don't make a lot of money in the East Coast League. I remember, fighting for, I think it was $4.25 a week, and I was like working so hard to try to get $25 more added to the contract per week. And so you have to work in the summertime. And this opportunity came, and they asked me if I wanted to play roller hockey, and they were going to match your weekly salary. And so I said, for sure. And the other thing was, you got to play in all the NHL buildings, and you got to fly to, so we played in New Jersey and flew to Orlando, etc. So we played in all the big buildings, and we got to fly, and you were treated pretty well. So it was a great summer job.
Wow.
I'm going to bring it back to the Roadrunners just for a couple minutes. Can you tell us, we just saw it and we read in the news recently that Vladislav Provalnev is heading back to the KHL. Can you just give us a brief look on how that went down?
Yeah, I think he's a player that wanted to explore playing in the NHL, and I think he was in a position where he wasn't sure if it was going to happen. He definitely has a lot of NHL attributes, and it was a good experiment from our team as well. We wanted to see if there was something that we can, bring to the table here in the NHL. But unfortunately, I think he was just starting to slide further and further from the NHL, and I think there was there's some really good opportunity for him in Russia. So he just, it was time for him to go back.
Steve, right now everyone's on break, relaxing, but when you guys come back, you play 9 games in 16 days, which is a lot, I feel like, for the AHL, which is normally just a weekend series. Yeah. You also have a midweek matchup against Stockton, who's leading the Pacific Division. How do you approach a stretch of games like that with, so many games and so little time to practice?
You know what? You've been in this, Steve. You know what it's like. You just go in, and it's like you're in a real tunnel, and you just keep going, and you don't really feel it. I'm sure if the players right now were listening, they'd probably throw something at me.
Yeah,
they feel it, and of course there are some moments where you're fatigued or whatever, but you don't really feel it or understand it until sometimes after the season or after that week. Where you are able to take a breath, because when you're in it, you're just constantly going.
Yeah. And it's a big, this stretch of 16 days, they're huge for you, because you do play Stockton twice, team leading the division. And these are really important points if you want to make that push to make the playoffs. So I think you're going to have to approach it, and hopefully you get a roster that can all show up, and then nobody's going into COVID protocol, and not everybody's getting called up to Arizona. So it's an exciting stretch. Well, let's talk about Ivan Prosvitov too. It's a guy that we've talked about a lot here as potentially a goaltender for the future. Can you tell us how he's been playing, what his development's been like this season?
Yeah, he's a player that's obviously been with us for 3 years. He's real exciting. He makes the big saves, and he can win you a hockey game. So he is right around the corner. There are a few things that he was exposed a little bit during the NHL that he's working on, and his goalie coach Charlie McTavish is working with him on. And you know what? He's one of those kids that's had success for so long doing it one way, and he's been really good. I mean, he's arguably been our MVP the last 3 years, and now he's just right at the end where he's ready to push through the wall. And he literally just needs to fix a couple little things, and I think he's a full-time NHL goalie.
Are you? We had a show yesterday. We talked about the World Juniors. Are you a guy that dials into the World Junior tournament and watches the games, or are you just break time and stay away from it?
No, it's hard not to get enthusiastic about it, because every year there's always a prospect that's just right around the corner from playing either with us or the Coyotes. So it's, we always seem to dive in, and honestly, the last couple of years have been real exciting for us. Watching Barrett go through what he went through with Team Canada, and the controversy he went through, and then the fight that he had to go through to stay healthy and play, and then end up getting the game-winning goal. I mean, it was hard not to get excited about it and really dive into it. So we're going to be, I'm sure we're going to be watching again this year.
I love the World Juniors.
I know, me
so
too.
much. It's
That's my
literally
favorite tournament. That's me.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up here, we always try and promote the Tucson Roadrunners because honestly, Tucson is a great city and it's not that far away from Phoenix. So as someone who obviously spends a ton of time in Tucson, what's just your favorite thing about Tucson?
You know what? It's got a great little ambiance in town. The city has started to really it's regenerated. It's a fun little city to be in. There's a lot of great little restaurants, and you really, you know what? It just feels like a smaller town, but there's a million people that live there, so it's unique in that sense. And then you know what? Going to University Avenue, and you can see all the restaurants and the buzz, and the people that are around there. It's a lot of fun, and of course, when I think anytime there's young people around, and this, it just brings a lot of life to the city. So it's a unique place to live, and it's a great place to coach.
And along with that, Steve, we always try to hit all of our guests with either their best pregame spot or postgame spot to eat. So give us a go-to restaurant, because we want our fans that are Coyote fans to be able, honestly, make the drive. It's 2 hours down. The rink's right off the freeway.
Right off the freeway.
So you stop down, go a little early, take the afternoon off work, get a good dinner, and then go to the game. So where are the Steve Potvin go-to restaurant in Tucson?
Yeah, well, you know what? There's this little restaurant that my wife and I have been to, and we've taken the kids, and it brings us back to her heritage a little bit. It's called Elisa's, and it's great old, country Yugoslavian food, and,
wow.
and yeah, we love it there. It actually feels like we're eating at home, when we're there. We've only been there a couple times, but every time we've been there, it feels like we're dining off the back porch, or the
That's a good one.
Yeah,
you're off the map on that one. Matthias Michelli did not pick that one. That's his favorite. Just said, little different eating style with those boys. And lastly,
to the homeland.
I want to talk about your upcoming schedule. We got the San Diego Gulls coming into Tucson New Year's Eve. So again, go to the game, then go out, right? Because it's a 6:00 start. And then on Sunday, studio's falling apart. On Sunday at 2:00.
You guys over there, you guys got a live audience?
Exactly. Throwing stuff at us. Then Sunday at 2:00, you've got the Gulls in an afternoon matinee on the 2nd on a Sunday. So if you're, again, that's the perfect way to go from up here. Sunday afternoon, drive down, have lunch, go to the game, have dinner, and drive home. So tell us about that weekend with San Diego. You faced them earlier in the year. Do you know much about the Gulls or what to expect for our fans for that series?
Yeah, San Diego's always been a little bit of a rivalry for us. They've always had a really good stockpile of prospects, and you're seeing a lot of the success Anaheim is having because of their prospects. A lot of young guys that are currently in their lineup. So, they've got some young and up and comers right now, and they've got some new coaches there that are really trying to implement a new culture. So it's always an interesting game when we play against them. They're a high energy team that plays very physically at times, and it's always a good weekend playing against San Diego. They push us to get better, and we enjoy competing against them and finding ways to beat them.
I got one more, Steve, because we always talk about the people and what they have behind them, right? Like, what is your background? Seriously, like, what are you got? For those who are listening on audio, Steve has guitars behind him.
Yeah.
So, what, like, are you a player? Are you in a band on the weekends, or a country band, or what's your go-to campfire song?
Wishful thinking. I honestly wish I could take any credit for that. You know what? We've had these guitars, I think we've had them now for 20 years. And
really?
Oh yeah. And I think there was one song that I tried to learn. It was Picture. Remember Picture with Sheryl Crow and what was he? And what's his name? I can see his face, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
We
tried so hard to play and we couldn't play. So then we tried so hard to get our kids to play and they can't play. So genetically speaking, they're just not able to do it. So
well, they look good. They look good, Steve.
Music.
They're a good conversation piece.
Exactly. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Down the I-10. So great to talk to you. We'll have to have you back on, and happy holidays coming up here, and best of luck in your game stretch when you come back from the holiday break.
Thanks, Potsy.
Thanks so much for having me. Great meeting you guys. Keep it up. It's so fun. I haven't been able to listen to every one of them, but it's the ones I have listened to are so much fun, and it's great. Keep going, guys. It's great for the Valley, great for everybody in hockey. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Potsy. Talk soon.